because we are all complex human beings, and we bring a lot of, we are very complex in experiences and thoughts and how we'd like to project ourselves. I think the key in building a personal brand and marketing it is being very intentional as to how you'd like to come across to your audience.
Hello, lovely international audience. I'm Magda, and I'm a workaholic. Shyam is going to, thanks, Jen. Jen, you're always so supportive. Thanks for laughing with me, not at me. Today is going to be a Shyam show. And that's because I'm having a morning. I feel like every Wednesday is just that kind of day. So I may or may not see you again at the end, but I wanted to say hello and welcome and thank you for being here. And today's webinar is about getting yourself as a coach organized to launch your coaching business next year. And no one better to tell us about that than Shyam, who's not only done this, but he's told us about it. And it's one of the best, feedback webinars we ever had with you, Shyam. So good job. And this one is going to be even better. But before we jump in, I have a favor to ask. And that favor is, after this, if everyone who listens to podcasts could go to their podcast app and search for Coacharia or search for Coach to Lead or both, and please, pretty please subscribe, and please, pretty please rate us and review us. I know that our podcast isn't like the best in terms of production value. It's not what we're going for. We're going for content, and we want to make sure that these kinds of webinars, if you can't attend live or you don't have the headspace or time to sit in front of a computer and watch on YouTube or stare at your phone, that you have a good way to be able to participate in webinars and share them and learn from them. And fast forward, because podcasts have really good buttons for those times that you don't want to listen to. Anyway, long story short, we do the podcast not for fun, but because we actually think it's useful. And the more people subscribe and rate and share it, the more support the podcast gets. And I would love nothing better than to hire someone full-time to produce the podcast and actually make it the kind of production value that you expect from, an NPR or Gimlet or whatever. So first of all, please subscribe to the podcast. You can just go to podcast.coacharia.com, and then you can see all the different streaming services we're on. We're basically on all of them. So just wherever you listen to podcasts, find it. Why am I asking you today? There's a reason. Method to my madness always. So today is December 1st. Yay, another year almost over. But we're going to make this a December to remember. And the kind of excuse we have for that is that this December marks our lovely person behind the existence of Coacharia, Ram. It marks his 10th anniversary of being a certified credentialed coach. So isn't that crazy that he's only been credentialed for 10 years? When I think of Ram, I think of the, David Clutterbucks and Peter Hawkinses and Marshall Goldsmiths. That's how I think of Ram. To me, Ram is the foundation of coaching. But perhaps he's more the future of coaching. So that's going to be more exciting. But anyway, so it's Ram's 10th anniversary officially as a coach. And today on the podcast, you're going to hear a lovely, lovely interview that I did with Ram. It's going to be on a YouTube channel too. And it's so funny because he tries to be all, webinar Ram in it. And I kept trying to bring him back into the lovely, jolly, silly guy that I know and love. Honestly, Ram makes me laugh more than anybody. And if you look at the webinars, a lot of times he's being serious because he's our teacher, Ram, not the, silly dude, Ram. So if you want to see a different side of Ram, and I think you'll really enjoy it, but also listen to him talk about his journey and all the philosophical stuff he talks about, because, Ram and coaching and philosophy and wisdom, there's the same thing. Yeah, there's no separation there. So I think you'll really, really like that interview, first of all. And to celebrate his wonderful achievement and the gift of Ram and Coach Arya that we all get to enjoy as a result, we're going to be doing a different podcast every single day for all of December. So that's why it's a December to remember. And that's why I'm asking you for podcast subscriptions. And what we will do is we're going to look at kind of our favorite episodes of the webinars, Ram's favorites, our trainers' favorites, things that we know that you're going to enjoy and you're going to get value out of. So the podcast we only started producing maybe like a year and a half ago, but we have at least 5 years worth of webinars since, I've gotten here. So there's a lot of content.
Yes.
So especially if you are new to Coach Arya in the past year and a half, you're going to find lots of new stuff on the podcast. So I took 6 minutes. I apologize, Shyam, for taking your time. Hopefully everyone can stay a few minutes after to make sure that they get, your full hour. But I'm going to disappear. But thank you everyone for being here as always. I mean, I keep saying that every time, but it means a lot because like we started off with having, 20, 30 people on screen at the same time when I joined, almost 5 years ago now, to like once a month, to now once a week at least. We have, hundreds, sometimes thousands of you between the podcast and between the YouTube channel and between attending live, watching our webinars. And like, that's pretty effing cool. So thank you, Shyam.
Thank you.
Have fun.
I will. And thank you. You're such a hard act to follow, but I'm going to try my best today.
No, you're fine. And just to make it easier for you, I can come back and awkwardly close the session.
Absolutely. Whenever you'd like. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Well, okay. How do I start? Well, first of all, it's really humbling and an honor to be back here. This is my kind of third time with all of you. Thank you for having me. And I can't think of a better way to reflect on the year and also look forward to the next. So thanks for having me, and thanks for putting up with me even without Magda on screen with us. So today is really about talking about, as we approach 2022, how to start, grow, and develop a coaching business in 2022. So done some homework. I've got a few pointers for you. As I go through my thoughts, I'd love to hear your questions, your thoughts, comments as we go along. I've got my eye on the chat, so keep those comments and questions coming. I'd like to weave them into what I have to share with you. So I have 10 points to share. Let's see how far I get along. But even before I wanted to start with my first point, I wanted to make an overarching message on starting a business, starting a coaching business, and especially in the context of entering a new year in 2022. And my overarching message, really, looking at coaching, looking at business, before I even get to my 10 points, is the importance of being digitally ready. I think that underlies a large part of the business aspect of what I'd like to tell you today. What I mean by that, I'll explain in more detail through my points, but a large underlying theme of this is going to be being digitally ready. Are you ready for virtual, remote, Zoom, microphones, lighting, being able to be heard, being able to be seen, being able to connect and communicate in this digital world? That's the one theme I'd like to leave with you before I begin my messages to you. So with that said, I'd like to start with my number one point about starting and building a coaching business for 2022. It is, why do you want to coach? Why do you want to be a coach? And what do you want out of it? Now, a large part of this comes from the very beautiful word, passion, which if you do have for coaching, absolutely, great place to be in. If you've found your passion to be in coaching and you see it, that's unbelievable. That's amazing place to be. If you are still thinking about whether this is something you want to do, this is not something, this is you're experimenting, you're thinking about it, then my urge to you is to begin experimenting, is to begin thought experiments, is to begin real experiments and see how that turns into a passion possibly. So either we start, all my conversations with myself and with others who are working in this space is either we start with, I have a passion for this already, or I'm trying to figure out whether I'm going to be passionate about it. And I have one thought experiment for you, which I have tried many times for myself and with my clients. I kind of came up with it myself, but it has really helped me. So I'm going to share it with all my humility to see if it helps any of you. You may have heard of anyone heard of the 10,000 hour rule made famous by Malcolm Gladwell in Outliers, right? It was about how to become really good at something by doing something for 10,000 hours. I have kind of a version of it for you if you are still thinking about whether why you really want to coach, what is there in it for you. The thought experiment is this: can you imagine yourself doing a coaching session 10 times, 100 times, 500 times, 1,000 times? And I kind of reached that 1,000 times, and I had that thought experiment with myself and said, I think I do. I think I might like to do this, right? So that is one thought experiment I had. And the second thought experiment, if you're still thinking about whether you want to coach, how you want to coach, where you want to go, where you want to add value, is this question: um, is this something you'd like to do, even if you knew it wouldn't work out? So there's this age-old question: what would you do if you had all the money in the world and you could do anything you want? That's one way of looking at it. I personally find that less useful. The more useful question I find is, what would I like to do even if I knew that it wouldn't work out? And for me, coaching and training, which is the other thing I do, is really in that space. So why do you want to coach? Passion, or figuring things out through action or through thought experiments to help you get on your way. So that was my first message to you. How am I doing so far? Just tell me in the chat. Is this sounding useful, interesting? Should I carry on to point number 2? Yeah, okay, thanks. Thanks for your feedback. Good to know. Good to know. Thank you. Thank you. Brilliant. So why you want to coach is where it all starts, really. One, if you're feeling the passion for it, you're already there, right? If you're trying to figure out if it is something you're going to like, thought experiments, try things out. And then it brings you to point number 2. If it is something you do want to pursue, the second is your niche. Okay. Some might even call it a micro niche. And the reason I talk about niche next is because just saying you're a coach is extremely difficult for the world to understand. The world has to understand what you have to offer for the world to react to you and offer you business, right? If you're creating a business, the world has to understand what you have to offer and then react to you and offer you what you need, which is a client, business, and growth, right? So the niche, for example, my niche is career coaching, right? How did I find it? I kind of stumbled on it after going through a few cycles of it, right? And why do I say a niche or even a micro niche? Because the more specific you become, the more likely you are to attract the kind of client that needs that specific offering, right? It has to be, for example, for me, it is career coaching, but then I had to go deeper into that, right? Because career coaching, again, I was not getting the reaction from the world that I wanted, because career coaching, everyone's got a career, and everyone, at least, my circles, everyone's got a career. So go deeper. Okay, mid-career. Okay, mid-career professionals who want what? Who are feeling stuck. So that's how I kind of reached my micro niche of saying my mid-career professionals who are feeling stuck in their careers. Okay, feeling stuck. Why? Transitions. They want to make a transition. So then I reached my kind of micro niche of mid-career professionals who want to make a career transition. And that's where I began. But what happens with a micro niche is it gives birth to further micro niches. That's the interesting bit. So going wide with a niche, well, first of all, a niche isn't wide. So going wide with your offering is really making it hard for the world to understand you. So go with one niche. Doesn't work, kind of go to an adjacent niche and kind of experiment with these niches and see when the world reacts to you. Thank you, Neha. How did you know when they were reacting to you? What does a reaction look like is what Neha says. What a reaction looks like is someone says, aha, that sounds interesting. Can I have some of that, please? Or someone says, what do you really do? You get the curiosity going. That's curiosity is one reaction, but you want it to be tangible. You want it to get to the point where someone wants to sign up for some of what you offer, right? For that, it has to solve a real problem. Most people are looking at you and saying, what problem can you solve for me? For example, if you say you're a life coach, that's great. that's a little wide. Is there something specific that you can offer to me that I want to sign up for? So when I say world reacts to you, they come and say, aha, that's a problem I have, and I'd like to have that resolved with your help. Now, the problem here is, of course, we as coaches generally see ourselves as generalists. We have a lot of wide knowledge, wide skill, wide capability. The trick then becomes in how to actually niche it down to something that a set of people will uh, react to and want. And then what happens is, after that, what happened is, it then created further sub niches. So for example, I started doing some work with people in tech because I bring 20 years of technology knowledge. But then I also started helping people in HR because I have a little bit of HR background in corporate HR as well. So what that happens is it then creates multiple niches. So instead of saying you're broad, you end up playing in 3 to 4 micro niches, which are related but distinct enough that certain groups of people see value in it. Yeah. Madhav's question, how can one find a niche we starting fresh in the coaching business? Make a start. The world's a very big place, right? And there are enough people around us with enough areas that they need help in. So finding a niche, it has to start from what you can offer as well. And I'm going to come to point number 3, which is your value. Your niche has to be not only something the world needs from you, but also something you can actually provide, right? So let me answer that question of Madhav's with my point number 3. Yeah, Ajay, I completely agree with you. There's a problem of plenty. And let me give you an example. Ajay has prompted a thought in my head from behavioral science. And let me talk about an example. There's this example of an experiment with jam that was conducted in, I think, California a few years ago. This is behavioral scientists trying to understand how humans react to choice. Okay. Now we have a lot of choice as coaches. We can literally kind of go into a million different things, right? So here's what happens. So they put 24 varieties of jam outside a Costco in, I think, somewhere in the Silicon Valley. And they started giving free samples. You know what happened? 70-80% of passers-by sampled one of the 24 jams, but only about 10-20% actually bought a jam out of the 24 varieties of jam that were there for sampling. But then they tried the experiment again with only 6. So they reduced 24 jams to 6. Much fewer people actually sampled it, but many more people bought the jam, which means we are prone to sampling, the Netflix effect of flicking through stuff, but not really watching anything if there's a lot of choice. So we need to distill it down to a certain nice niche, small number of choices. So we will actually act. So if you're saying I'm not able to find my niche because I'm not able to choose from 100, bring it to 5, right? Bring it to 5. The likelihood of you choosing something and taking action become higher if you have fewer choices. So just came to me, so I just thought I'd share that. So if you're unable to pick, reduce the number of choices, it actually helps you act. Ranjita, oh yes, key is to act your way into thinking rather than look for a grand design. Absolutely. What comes first, action or belief? Behavioral science suggests that action, you act your way into believing or you act your way into thinking. Yeah. Stop thinking, start acting, as I have been told by my own mentor and coach. Point number 3. First one was why you want to coach. Second is what your niche is. Have you figured out a micro niche? Third is, in that micro niche, what value do you bring? What is the value add? For example, for me, my kind of value statement to you is I help you create magic at work. It took a long while for me to come up with something like that. But that is pretty much what I bring to you in terms of value. My niche is mid-career professionals who are looking for career transitions. And my value proposition is I help you create magic at work. Why do I like that? I like the word magic. It seems to suggest there's something a little interesting in here, something we don't quite understand. People get curious, want to know, and that starts a conversation. So a value, right? So that was me. But here's where I struggled. In value, I think many of the coaches I have met, at least, bring in a variety of skills, and that's actually what makes us, good coaches, because we bring in such a variety of thought and a depth of perspective, but depth and breadth of perspective. The difficulty becomes, how do I communicate that value to you? If I say I have 20 skills and I list them down on a CV or a bio, that's going to get nobody's attention. You're not solving anyone's problem. It's really hard. So again, I thought I'd share one or two models that has helped me uh, go from being a generalist, but then actually project myself as an expert in a certain area. So for me, there are only two areas I project myself and my services, which is being a coach and a trainer. Now, why did I pick those? I'd like to quote Scott Adams of Dilbert fame. He has a beautiful blog, and there is this thing he wrote maybe a decade ago. He called it the 25% rule. Let me tell you what it is. If you want to become the best at something in the world, let's say the top 1%, by default, 99% of us are not going to get there. So how do you add value in a world where it is very difficult to become good at one thing? You maybe become top 25% in two things, but then the combination is what makes you a very attractive prospect, right? So for example, if you bring, for me, it was basically 20 years in technology and a really global experience, plus coaching and training presence. So I kind of brought the coaching baseline of being the tech experience, global experience, and took the coaching and the training. And am I the best coach in the world? No, with all humility, no. Am I the best trainer in the world? No. Am I one of the best coaches, coach plus trainer? I'd like to think I'm pretty good, right? So you'd like to project yourself as, if you're not able to in one specific place, make some interesting combinations, right? You make some interesting combinations that offer you value, offer a value in that combined state that people look at it and go, yeah, that sounds interesting. That combination is something I've not seen before, right? Right. Sushma's got a question of how do we solicit clients? I'm going to come to that in a second, Sushma, but let me just kind of acknowledge the question and say, you said, I don't like the way folks have to market themselves on LinkedIn. Yeah, that's not the only way. I'll just kind of say that for now, Sushma, and come back to your question when I talk about marketing, positioning, and branding in just a moment. Right. So what have I covered so far? Why you want to be a coach, what your niche is or micro niche is. Third, what is the value that you bring? And one last thought on value before I move to my fourth point. Value, I think it's really important not to underestimate who we speak to. They need to make their judgment, to take Sushma's comment on how people are marketing themselves on LinkedIn. In a way, you need to put yourself out there, and people need to then decide whether they'd like to work with you, right? So the value, we shouldn't underestimate how people are actually going to see it. We should not make it that blatantly like list it out. We need to get them to also put in some effort and interpret it and pull them into a conversation. So that's one more thing I wanted to say in my notes. So what have you done? You figured out why you want to coach. You figured out a micro niche you want to play in. You figured out what your value is that you really bring, right? For example, just to make it tangible, my micro niche is mid-career professionals looking for career transitions, and the value, the way I communicate it is, I help you create magic at work. Then it comes to what a couple of you have already asked, which is around branding, marketing, positioning. Okay. So branding, marketing, positioning. I know there's a couple of questions on LinkedIn that people have asked. So let me kind of bring out LinkedIn first. LinkedIn is one way that you can put yourself out there. There are multiple other ways. A website, a blog, a podcast, like Magda was saying, right? So there's multiple ways. So we'll come to those in a second. But first, I wanted to make a distinction between your reputation and your personal brand. Okay. I want to clear the confusion if you have it. I had it for sure. I was wondering, what all this talk about personal brand really is. Why do people keep asking me my personal brand and my 60-second elevator pitch and all of that? What I've come to realize is a reputation is simply what people already think of you. One of my big interests is marketing, and in marketing, I learned if you go back to Marketing 101 and look at what Rees and Trout said in the marketing textbook is, marketing is not about changing perceptions. Marketing is about taking advantage of the perceptions that already exist. Right? So now it is extremely important for you to know what the perceptions of you are in the world, right? What reputation do you really have? And that's where you start your, that's the foundation on which you're building, because none of us are, fresh out of school or just about starting a career. We all bring something to the world in terms of experience and background. So we have to be very conscious that anything we build as a brand is founded on who we are already. We are, after all, the sum total of all our experiences. So the personal brand, the difference from a reputation is the personal brand is an intentional way of putting yourself out there. Okay. So if you're being intentional, you need to pick a way that is authentic to you. I have had my share of experiments and failures. The one reason I actually speak on this mic is because of my failed podcast last year. Not failed. Okay, let me put it this way: a podcast experiment that I did, and I did about 10 episodes. And this is a remnant artifact of my experiments with podcasts. Why did I discontinue? It was really hard. There's a lot of work that goes into producing a podcast. But then how do you brand yourself? So I write a lot. If writing is how you best express yourself, writing is good. You could do live webinars like this one. I did a LinkedIn live today. I do quite a few of them. And talking and conversing with people and adding, showing yourself in that manner. You could do videos. You can write a blog on a website. You could publish a book if you'd like to. It's becoming easier and easier to publish digitally. If you'd like to publish a piece of work, all of that adds value to how people actually perceive you in the digital world. Yeah, Pekka, if you're looking about micro niche, yeah, I mean, and there's Pekka's made a comment in the chat about micro niching versus being broad. Try micro niche, see how it goes, and then build from there. Yeah. And you can use that micro niche in your personal brand. So the personal brand, remember, the main difference between personal brand and reputation or anything else is really the intentionality. If you pick a niche, your entire interaction with the world has to be consistent with that, right? We had a wonderful exploration in one of our coaching classes once at Kocharya with my lovely cohort, where we were talking about, do you feel like you put on a mask when you go and meet different people? Are you, am I wearing a mask at home? Then am I wearing a mask right now with you on this webinar? Am I wearing a mask with, my friends, with work and all of that? And, the analogy that works for me better, and this is what is helping me develop my brand as I go along, the analogy that works better for me is that of a sieve, which is allowing me to filter certain aspects of me to you, which is still me. So I'm not putting on a mask, but I'm showcasing certain parts of me that are still authentic, but what is strictly relevant in this conversation. So I'm trying to show parts of me that are relevant here and useful to you as listeners on this webinar, rather than get confused internally about all the various aspects of me that probably have no relevance here. And this is why the branding exercise can be really hard, because we are all complex human beings, and we bring a lot of, we are very complex in experiences and thoughts and how we'd like to project ourselves. I think the key in building a personal brand and marketing it is being very intentional as to how you'd like to come across to your audience. And since we are talking about branding and marketing, there's been a couple of questions about LinkedIn on the chat. So let me address that. I write on LinkedIn every day. Yeah, I've written for the entire year, 11 months straight. How many days? 300 plus days, right? And I'd like to think that whatever I say there is something that I wanted to express, right? But it is not anything that I want to express. It is things that my audience needs to see from me. So I focused completely on career transitions, and I write about career. Sometimes I, give myself a little bit of freedom to write a few different things and put a picture in there, or something like that. But largely speaking, the brand comes from consistency. And if you are starting to write on LinkedIn, this is the long game. If you are trying to build a brand through writing and through content, it is a long game. Yeah. Nothing's going to happen in a week or two. It's probably going to take 6 months for you to see any traction. So if you're starting something like that, my my humble advice is to give it the time it needs. Yeah, giving the time it needs. And if you have 6 months of content out there, that's amazing, because people are going to look you up and see that you've said something. And this happened to me. After a while, if you have said 100 things about something, then people who are looking it up, the world sees you as an expert. And that just happens, because if you have 100 things to say about something, I respect you. And that's what happens on platforms like LinkedIn. So a comment here, a short post here doesn't do much. It's a very cumulative domino effect. Yeah. All right. So I'm at 4, which is why you want to coach, what's your niche, what value do you bring, and what's your brand and marketing. And that brings us to this question, which I was thinking how to actually order my thoughts for you. And number 5 that came up for me was 0 to 1. Not Peter Thiel's book 0 to 1, but going from 0 to 1 customer. I'll share my story, but I'm sure there's many different ways you could find or you could sign up your first client. Definitely having your network know about what you're doing, and that's how I got my first client. It was a friend of a friend of a friend who wanted some help in a career transition. I had written up a little brochure before my website or LinkedIn or anything, and I just kind of sent it on WhatsApp to a bunch of friends. And the news spread, and somebody came and said, "Can I, talk to you?" And one thing led to the next, and that's kind of the story of my first client. So, in order to get a first client, if you're thinking about starting a business, one, value your connections, value your network. Tell them. I like to call them my network of champions. I like to call all my connections my network of champions who are working hard to help me grow my business. Out of either the goodness of their hearts or the just the prospect of a friend doing really well. So reaching out to connections, sending positive signals about what you do well, finding partners probably to add more credibility to you, is our various paths by which you can find your first client. And once that first domino falls, really, I think it just opens up a real beautiful cascade of events. You'll get referrals, you'll be able to talk about it, you'll have a testimonial to put up in your content or material or a brochure or a website, however you're presenting it. You can choose that. As I said, in branding, you need to find a channel that feels authentic to you, right? You need to pick one that feels authentic to you. So 0 to 1, you need to tell people, and you also need to know what your ideal client is. For me, it was getting as specific down to technology, mid-career, maybe kind of mid-30s, probably in Bangalore, so we could make a connect in tech, in possibly a global MNC. All of this was basically to see what my ideal client would be. All that value that I can bring, is it going to topple that first domino for me and find my first client? So if you're thinking 0 to 1 client, network, tell your network what you're up to, tell them what you're offering, ask them to help you spread the word. Find a test client, actually. Find a few test clients as well and see if you're able to actually serve the need and solve a problem. It's really fulfilling and invigorating to know that what you're offering is actually helping somebody, and that creates a lot of confidence. We have a question in the chat. It takes courage and vulnerability to put yourself out there, even within your own network. What do you suggest to people struggling with this? I think when I said network, that might sound intimidating. I realize that even I felt that way. It is always start with 1. It's this usual 0 to 1. I think, and I'm saying it as if it's very easy. It's not. Completely appreciate that. Start with 1. Make a start. Do it with 1 person. Pick 1 person who's really friendly and who's going to help you, help support you. Possibly think about in your network who's a super connector. Super connectors are people who are really connected incredibly well. Know your super connectors. My first client came through one of the people I know who is an incredibly well connected and networked person who has lots of friends, acquaintances, ex-colleagues, everyone who is willing to listen to him, and kind of if he sends a a contact, they kind of look at it, they trust them. So super connectors, look for super connectors in your network who are able to then send out these feelers out into the world for you. But pick one. If you're feeling a little intimidated, as I was, by going out there, just pick one person. Just pick one person, have that one conversation. Make a start. Let me also take Megha's question. Megha has asked, how did you narrow it down to decide your micro niche? I went with Megha, what I knew I could do, which is career, because I had a kind of a 20-year global career in tech. So I thought I could really help people with those problems. And I actually tested it and tried it. Okay. Now, I have adapted it as I went along. Okay, so it's not exactly the same as it was a year ago or a year and a half ago. I actually thought that most of my clients will be from technology. They are not. They are actually well spread. So I'm removed the tech from my micro niche. I used to say technology professionals, but I removed it when I realized that the challenges were very similar. So what I'd say is make a start with a micro niche. Don't spread it. Don't go general. Make a start with a micro niche, but be ready to be flexible with it, because you're going to learn as you go along. But keep it a micro niche at every step. If you make it wider, then you lose the attention of the people. You won't solve a problem for anybody. Um, so you got to figure out which end of the spectrum you want to address. So if you look at a Gaussian curve distribution, the distribution is usually in the middle. But that middle, the Industrial Revolution created a space where we try to create things in bulk for the masses. We are not in that space, right? Coaching, I look at coaching at the tail end, at the the right extreme, the tail end of the masses, where there's a very niche requirement. So we can't make it too broad. People don't really relate to it, I think. Right, I'm at 5, so I have a few more ideas. But Rochelle's got a great question for us. How do you increase your followers on LinkedIn? This is my primary coaching platform for reach, and I have realized that this is harder than I expected. I have been sharing good content on LinkedIn, but I'm not sure how do I expand my network. Right, Rochelle, this is a fascinating question. Okay, I have struggled with this entire year. I'm getting close to 10,000 followers on LinkedIn now, and I started with 1,000. Okay, let me tell you my journey. I really struggled with this idea of increasing my followers, because I, for a long time, thought that was the metric I needed to follow. But my metric is not number of followers. I'm very clear about it now. And people who are helping me with my marketing know that as well from me. My metric is clients. Okay. So sometimes my views, my best post got about 1 million views once, one post on LinkedIn, nearly 1 million views, something like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it is helping my business. It only means that 1 million people saw it. Now, what is really more important is for me to, in some manner, know how my business is growing. So even if I get 1,000 views on a post and I get like 5 followers additional that day, but I got a client call, now that's that is real and tangible. So I think followers on LinkedIn is a fair enough metric to understand if your content is doing well. But if you're trying to grow a coaching business, I think it's really important to know what it's translating into. Yeah. Yeah, and Vineet has also added a point here. Let me read this out for people who might be listening to this on a podcast later. Vineet says, I know you're very active on LinkedIn. He's telling me, Shyam, since I follow you, but do you get clients just by posting daily, or do you need to paid marketing as well? Okay. Fantastic question. So let me, if there's one failure I can share with you in 2021, our failed experiment was the paid marketing on LinkedIn. And I'll tell you my philosophy on this. I don't think, and you may disagree with me, I don't think coaching is the kind of coaching itself is something that can be pushed. It needs to be pulled. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is staying on LinkedIn consistently and being there for people ensures that when they need a coach, they call you. So that is now my mantra. Okay, so my usage of LinkedIn or my blogs, I have a my website as a blog as well. um, so for example, to slight detour there, if you have a website, your goal with the website is views. Yes, effectively, if you're doing analytics and SEO optimization on a website, but the ultimate goal is, if they say, for me, goal is career coach in India, it should be my website that comes up on the first page of Google, right? How do you do that? It takes a couple of years. Have I started that journey? Yes, I have. I'm kind of on the fourth page, I'm told. I'm not sure yet. But if you say career transition in your 30s, I think a blog from my website comes up on the third page on Google because of intense SEO optimization over time. Now, if that's the metric to be on the first page, I think that's a great metric, right? Number of people clicking on the web page doesn't mean much. But once we get it there, then if someone needs something and they Google you, oh, by the way, Google yourself and see what happens. To be digitally ready, right? So anyway, slight detour. Coming back to how do you get clients by posting on LinkedIn by Vineet. The idea is no single post gets you a client, right? It may impress them. They may like something that you have said, or people may be listening to this webinar and like a question or like a comment that we have made. But the key is you are always there, right? When I turn the TV on at a certain time, there is a newscaster there giving me the news at a certain time. 7 o'clock, 6:30, my newspaper guy comes and drops off the Times of India and a copy of the Mint, which are the two newspapers I read every day, right? I know that happens every day, right? Every day my milkman delivers milk at 6 in the morning. In the same way, I write on LinkedIn at 8:30 a.m. every day, right? So if you're always there and if you're turning up every day, then when the person who's following you needs a coach, you'll be the only one they'll call. That's the premise I'm working on. Okay. So it is not about it's not about number of followers. It's not about one single viral post. It is about them trusting that you are there, right? And when they need you, they'll find you. And that's what I mean by the pulling strategy, not the pushing strategy. The advertising strategy, I tried it. That was, I didn't even tell you my biggest failure. I spent about $1,000 to do this experiment over about 6-8 weeks. And I said, okay, I'm going to push this ad out there on LinkedIn with my face and with a little bit of a graphic and see what happens, right? Nothing happened. I didn't get a single call. Because my learning from that is I need to pull clients, not push my offering out to them. If that helps. All right. Ajay has a question for me. Wonderful segue, Ajay, because my next point is about money. Okay. So I'm going to segue into the next point, which is about money and business models and so on. And again, Krishna Swami has also asked a question of monetizing. So let me read out Ajay's question first. I'm sure you transitioned from a well-paying job. How much time did it take for you to make it self-sustaining? Okay, I left my corporate job in April 2020, which was exactly when Corona had hit. It took me 9 months of zero income. So I was just in a lot of kind of idea germination mode and experimenting with podcasts and all of that for about 6-9 months. So I've kind of completely negated that, right? Self-sustaining is a very interesting question because self-sustaining seems to suggest to me how much I earn, I spend on the business, right? This is where it's fascinating because to set up a coaching business, you don't need that much money. You need a good computer, you need a good internet, you need a camera, you need a mic, you need some lights, and actually you're ready to go, right? LinkedIn's free unless you want to take premium, which is again about 10, $20 a month. And a website is like literally like almost free right now, hosting charges for simple websites, right? So the amount of money you spend in starting a coaching business is pretty minimal, right? My father-in-law ran a factory for 40 years, and I was chatting with him, and he said we had to literally put our entire livelihoods on the line to start a business like that. What you have done is you've spent what, like few $100 effectively in India and started a coaching business. So I think self-sustaining is a very interesting question. If you're talking about replacing a corporate job, that is It took me about 6 months. And my business is now worth more to me than my corporate job was. And that's happened in about 6-9 months. But that is also largely because of corporate jobs are taxed. And, if you sign up, I have a limited liability partnership set up for myself, which sets up a completely different tax situation for me. And in India is also, it's very attractive. So that's a totally different thing. But again, I'm not an expert there. And again, I'm going to come to a support system nugget for you in a moment. If you don't have a chartered accountant, a financial consultant, you'll need that for sure to help you with those things. So I'm going to answer Krishnaswamy's question and then go into my point and then look at the other questions as I go along. Yeah? Krishnaswamy has asked how to take the first step in monetizing. I'm in my first step in this journey, and some of my stakeholders have approached me for coaching from the little reputation I want, but I just don't know how to start the conversation on monetizing for the fear of losing them. Oh, I faced the exact same situation. In fact, Krishnaswamy, I would say you're doing even better than me. I was like, I'll just do it for free. I just want to get started. But I was advised not to do it for free. And I picked a reasonably okay number. I think I've shared this before in the last webinar. So what I did was I did research on what the coaching really costs out there to a rough extent, and then told this person, you are my first client. This is my list price, but I'm going to do it for you at 80% discount because you're my first client and you're helping me make a start. So that's how I did it. You could try it, but definitely expecting the final list price that you would like is going to be hard from your very, very first client. But again, don't go really don't lowball it, and never reveal a number that is so low that then that becomes your anchor in the market. If you're known for a low number, that becomes your anchor, and then it's really hard to go up. So reveal the number, but then say, hey, for you, you're my special client, you're my first client. I'm going to do a really, really, really super deal for you because you're getting me started. You're getting my business started. That's how I did it. Hope that helps. And that moves us, folks, into my point number 6. Oh, wow, it's 48 minutes. And I'm going to go through these a little quickly because these are all kind of ideas I had that are probably a little self-evident, but I'll just kind of make them for you, and then I'll take questions as well when I finish these thoughts. So for this point number 6 was money. Yeah, money and business model. How do you decide? You gotta decide how you're offering your coaching. Is it one-to-one? Is it group? Is it virtual? Is it online courses? What is it, right? If you are able to lock it down to 1 or 2 offerings, because otherwise it's really confusing for clients. You really need to know, when I've already answered a question about how you start, go with a number that you think is reasonable for your niche from whatever research you've done. If you don't know, go a little higher, but then offer a discount and make a start basically. And also ensure that you are able to offer that kind of business model and money differently in different places. Don't lock it down to like, I am a person with, this is my rate for anybody. Right? Having some flexibility helps. I'm just taking a quick look at the questions as well. Omega says lights, camera, and action. Super. Yes. I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong, but is it Ido Tenyin Isaac? As a career coach, what is your value statement? My value statement is on my LinkedIn profile. I say I help you create magic at work. So my value statement is, if you are a professional in a mid-career especially, I help you create magic. And for me, that has worked really well because people reach out to me and say, hey, I've been following you for a couple of months. I've been reading your LinkedIn posts. I think I get what you mean by magic. Can I have some of that? And isn't that a wonderful pull? I just feel great when someone says that to me. So instead of being very prescriptive, I'm little open-ended, but I'm allowing them to actually, and I've learned all this by making a ton of mistakes. I'm allowing people to actually see me, watch me, and make a decision whether they want to talk to me without being too pushy on it. So, yeah. Thank you, Vineet, for your comment, and all the best to converting followers to clients. No worries, Ajay. Thank you for your comment as well. Sushma has asked, you mentioned having an influential anchor client helps with outreach. Sushma, I think what I'm saying is having a clients being influential might not help in my experience, because many clients actually don't reveal that they have a coach. This is my experience. Yours might be different. In India, especially, I've realized, actually not just India. Why am I limiting to India? Um, Most of my clients don't talk too much about being coached. Yeah. So having an influential coach might give you some references with close friends of theirs, but the person who's going to be really of great value to you are the super connectors in your network who know a lot of people. If you know the WhatsApp messages you ignore, right? And the WhatsApp messages you really read, right? Or emails, whatever mode of communication you engage with the world. I know certain people's WhatsApp I just kind of ignore because it's largely stuff I don't read. But when some people send me a message or a PDF or a link, I kind of trust that person to send me something useful and interesting. I'm talking about those people. If you can network, if you can identify those people for you before you put yourself out there on websites and everywhere, those people are going to really be very, very helpful for you. Yeah, Debeshi also agrees with me that clients keep the coach in confidential mode. A lot of clients don't really kind of make a big deal of it. I'm yet to see, a barrage of messages or posts on LinkedIn saying, I have a coach and here's the coach and here's what I did through my coaching. That's not that common, I think. Okay. Um, I have 7, 8, 9, 10 to share. So let me just tell you what they are, and I'd love to field more questions. Number 7 is support network, folks. You cannot do this alone. I've realized this very, very late. If people ask me if there's one thing you would change, what would that be? This would be it for me. What do I mean support network? My own coach, my own mentor. What's the difference? Coaches, mentors is someone who's been there, done that. So I have a few mentors who are running their own individual kind of solo practices, and I like to learn and talk and listen to them. Having a branding marketing person, can't do it alone. I get content ideas from somebody. My blog, I have some support to help things through. I have someone who actually sits with me and talks to me and then translates it to a blog for me now. It's been a year now, so I have support. Definitely a money person, okay, a chartered accountant, a banker, finance person. You need all of this in place. It's really hard to make these decisions on your own, because what happens is our brains are, I think, largely limited in capacity. So my brain is definitely, and if I'm spending time on taxes and filing GST returns in India, and which by the way is monthly, it's just too much. So I need to create that space. So find your support network. This will be money very, very well spent. Then number 8, 9, and 10, I just want to give you that message, and I'll take more. There's a few questions I've not answered, so I'll do that. Number 8 was, and this is, I think, incredibly useful from a 2022 perspective. Have a digital footprint. If I Google you, what do I get? Right? If I Google your name, what do I get? If do I get a website? Do I get a blog? Do I get a paper? Where is your photo? I'm not talking about Facebook profile and things, but just kind of what is your entire digital footprint, right? Including LinkedIn, including Facebook, including Instagram, including Pinterest, wherever you are. And if you're not, because if you're not anywhere, that tells me something, right? That tells me that you're not there in the digital space. So again, good or bad, I don't know. Depends on who your potential client is. For me, it's very, very important to be found. One success story of a digital footprint is I got interviewed on TV a few weeks ago, and they literally just Googled career coach in India, and they found me. They called me, said, "Can you come on TV in an hour?" And I did. Now it is because of a year of working on the website. So it kind of works out in ways I can never imagine. Number 9, this is something I have also learned much through experiences. Keep experimenting. For example, if you don't know what your current micro niche is, pick one, work with it, go with it, and then change it. Keep experimenting. So number 9 I wanted to say was keep experimenting. And number 10 for 2022, be patient. All of this is a long game. Building a brand takes a long time. Personal branding, networking, finding clients, growing a business, it doesn't happen overnight. But one thing we got going for us as kind of digital coaches, digitally native business, is that you can move fast, you can run experiments and learn quickly. So those are my kind of 10 points. Let me just kind of round that through, and then I'll take the questions that are already there and any others that you might have. I wanted to start by saying, why do you want to be a coach? Really know that. Second, know your niche or micro niche, which can change over time. Know the value that you bring, make it specific. Four, branding, marketing. What's your authentic voice? Where do you want to be seen? Number five, figure out a way to get from 0 to 1. Find your first client through your connections, through your network. Find a friendly face who's kind of willing to help spread the word that you are actually coaching now and you're looking for clients. Number six, business model and money. Know how you're going to earn, know how you're going to set things up, know what you're going to charge. For the first client, go a bit easy, but then don't start very low. It unfortunately anchors for the future. And then support network, digital footprint, keep experimenting and be patient. Those were my messages to you. And considering we have a few more minutes left, I'd go back to chat. And if you have more questions, please keep popping them in. Where did I stop? We stopped with Sushma, I think. So let's go to Prabha's question. What is your view on accreditations for coaches? Oh, again, as the case with tough questions, my answer is it depends. But I will also elaborate by saying what it depends on. So it depends on who your possible clientele is. If your clientele is corporate, I have corporate clients for whom I coach their employees. And for them, in order to make a decision, an accreditation is really important because HR head who is taking on a coach for the company needs to go through the background, really figure this out, and actually make a well-rounded, sound decision for the organization. So in those kind of situations, accreditation is important. People who reach out to me directly as a basis of my blog or my website, a good proportion ask, but a good, maybe half don't ask as well. Because what they want is really that value that has clearly been evident to them through my writing or whatever it is that I put out there. So if you have that body of work that speaks for you, then, like it's so hard to believe that Ram is only 10 years accredited, right? It's unbelievable. Right, where we be now? Oh, wow. Thank you all for your comments on the session. Thank you. Let's see. I'll keep going with the questions. Vineet has asked, can you recommend some of those solo coach mentors whom we can follow as well as learn? Oh, wow. Hey, Vineet, you got me there. You know what I'm going to promise for you is I'll write a LinkedIn post with my thoughts on that because I really need to think this through before I make any quick recommendations. So I'll make the note of your question. Solo coach mentors. I'm going to write a post to you, and if you can connect with me and give me your ID, I'll tag you on it, okay, on LinkedIn. Thanks. Right. Vineet also has asked, what is the ratio of corporate versus individual clients for you? If I may ask you to get an idea, it keeps fluctuating, Vineet. What is happening is corporate clients, corporate contracts kind of go for longer periods. You get that kind of baseline work. The individual clients kind of keeps spiking. So it really depends on, actually, what does it depend on? I don't think it depends on anything. It's just completely unpredictable. For me, ratio has been all over the place. It's been 25-75, 75-25. It's a little, the individual clients peak during those kind of annual review. For me, because I'm a career coach, annual review, a performance appraisal, promotion time frame, it just peaks. It happened last year. It's happening again this year because people are trying to figure out what to do next year, where do they want to go, how do they want to grow, things like that. Yeah. So I think it peaks, but hard to put a number on it. Maybe that's good analysis for me to figure out. Yeah. Tasneem has said, I needed help as to how to create pull position to enter corporate, and that is a big game. Yes, Tasneem. So here's my take on it. And this is happening for me now. Is in a corporate, who are you trying to pull, right? In a corporate, if you're a coach, it's probably likely that a head of HR or a really senior leader is taking a decision to bring in a coach to the corporate, right? So you need to pull that target audience, right? So what content do you want to write, or what blogs? How do you want to express yourself so the world responds to you, or rather all the HR heads in the world respond to you. That's the question I'd probably ask you to think more about, and saying, what do I, and I kind of do that a bit as well, if you want to see kind of what I have said. Oh, you're welcome, all of you. Thank you so much for all your lovely comments. um, right, absolutely. You're very, very welcome. Thank you all for being here. Yeah, we are kind of almost on time, so I'm happy to stay on if you have any more questions, folks. Oh, Rochelle, thank you for saying you enjoy my LinkedIn post. That's amazing. Thank you. Can I, Vineet has asked, can I put logos of companies whose employees are being coached by on my website? Have you done that? No, not without permission. I have not put logos of companies, not without permission, because they might not want to publicize that. Not without permission, Vineet. No, I have not done that. All right. Hey, good night, Martin. It's really late in Kuala Lumpur. Thanks, Ranjit. Thank you so much for all your comments. Right. I mean, feel free to ask more questions. I'm right here. Thank you, Mrunal. Thank you very much. Absolutely. I love Kochare webinars. They're amazing. Thank you so much for being such a lovely audience, listening to what I have to say and asking insightful questions. Your questions kind of make me think better as well. So I've also derived insights from my own thinking. Sheetal has asked, can you also, oh, cheers from Bordeaux in France. Anna, hi. Sheetal says, can you also point us to some good websites that offer coaching? Kocharia. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, Sheetal. I'm not sure I get what you mean. If you can elaborate on that, I'd be happy to answer. George Armstrong asks, would you ask HR managers for leads? No, I would not. I would not do that. I would put myself out there in a way that my content and my profile and my brand is irresistible for HR managers. So when HR managers are looking for coaches, they come to me. I think that's how I look at it. So if my brand is powerful enough that I would not go and ask HR managers for coaching assignments. I would write in such a way and probably connect with them in such a way that when they're looking for a coach, it's me they call. That's how I'd like to project it. And on that note, Magda, hi, welcome back.
Hi, I am back, and I was not here, so I cannot say, Shyam, it was great when you did the thing that you did, but I'm pretty sure that it was great when you did the thing that you did. So, so thank you. What I am noticing though is you guys were talking about recruiting coaches. So we happen to have a tool for that. It's called coachintro.com. Don't do anything today. So that's the big caveat. Don't go on it today, because literally tonight we're launching the new version of it. Oh, hold on, unless maybe it's live. I don't even know, because I've been in emails all day and calls, but coachintro.com is literally a website that we launched where you can list your services. And let's see. Hey, it is live. Okay, never mind. You can go and register. So please go to coachintro.com because it's already there. Coachintro.com is a public website, and we are using it not like you can just register yourself and go crazy, list your wares, your services. I
will do that.
So version 1 is literally just out right now. And yeah, so be patient, because this is going to be a work in progress. But we're also using this website with our corporate clients. So Coacharia works with quite a few companies on coach training and coaching outside of just our regular coach training programs. So when a corporate comes to us and says, we need 30 coaches, right now we've been looking at the profiles that we have, our internal CRM, etc. What we'll be doing from today onwards is we'll be using our own website, coachintro.com, in order to filter coaches that we think are appropriate for a client. And in fact, it's actually a few companies where we are doing kind of like a pseudo white label, where we are pre-vetting coaches that we know will suit their needs based on the requirement. And we're literally just giving them the link and be like, you guys go book your coaches on this link. So point is, it makes sense for you to make a profile on coachintro.com. And when things are buggy, not if, when things are buggy, just, be patient, give me a couple more weeks. But by, January 1st, we will have the necessary bells and whistles, and hopefully you guys can source some more clients. Hopefully, I know you will, because I know I've got a few corporates that are going to be sourcing clients. So
Nice.
long story short.
That's great.
Sorry, short story long, I should say, because that's what that ended up being. Short story long, go to coachintro.com.
I'm so distracted. I'm looking at it right now, but I'll go look at it later.
Awesome. But yeah, I'm excited because literally this went out. I didn't know it was going out this morning or this evening, and I have not even checked my emails. So I'm excited to play and see what things we missed, because whatever, life. But you can get paid through the site as well. So right now, booking is just, contact. So for the next few days, like go crazy and play. But what we'll be doing also by January is we'll have like live calendar links so that people can book you directly at available times through the website, and you can put in your Stripe details, and you can charge and get paid
directly. That's lovely.
all through that. So it's going to be a great little service for all of you guys.
Amazing.
Sweet.
That's a real pain point, if I may add. That's a real pain point you're resolving. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm glad. Not resolved yet, but soon. So yeah, Shyam, thank you for what I'm sure was an amazing webinar.
I enjoyed myself very much. And thank you. What a lovely audience we had today. And thank you for having me again. And I was just reflecting that what a great opportunity for me to reflect on my own 1-year experience and share it with all of you and kick us all off for a fantastic 2022. That's
right. Yeah. So we'll see you here. Well, maybe on speaker, I'm not sure, but we'll see all of you in January 5th, I think is our first session. So if anyone has suggestions for how you would like to most productively kick off the year, email us, Magda@Kocharia, support@Kocharia, contact, all those different things. Neha from my team is here. You can email her, email Smita, email anybody, and just tell us what you think you would like to hear about, and we'll make our best effort to make it happen for you in the first webinar, if it makes sense. And if not, we literally have something every single week. So yeah, we can talk.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Yeah, how's that? We've got a wink. Happy holidays to everyone who is celebrating any kind of holidays, and not happy winter, because winter sucks to those of you who are in my shoes. And anybody who's in Australia, I miss you. That's all. I told you I could make it awkward.
Oh, I know. I'm looking at all the comments here. Happy holidays, lovely session. Okay, great. All right.
Thanks, everyone. Right on cue. Someone's trying to call me. Okay. Happy holidays. Love you.
Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Well, I'll see you here next week. For those of you who want to be here, come back next week for a different session, but not with Shyam, but with me.
Okay. I'll be there. Bye.
Okay. Bye.